Hi, welcome back to another video. As you can tell, I'm in the same position as I was in the last video, so that probably gives you an indication of what we're working on, which it should. So again, we're working on our abductors and our inner thigh adductors of our body again. So we're putting that intention into our legs. We're gonna proceed with a little bit more extended movement on top of what we learned from the last section. So same things still apply. We've got that cervical spine support, so we've got this head pad so that my head isn't just draped out onto the floor. So we've got that nice engagement. We're keeping the spine in that same parallel line. I'm not dropping my rib cage to the floor. I'm keeping a good engagement through my abdominals to keep myself hiked up in this position, keeping that nice long line. I've got my hips stacked on top of one another. I've got my shoulders stacked on top of one another. Same thing, I'm not rolling back, I'm not rolling forward through my waist, stacked on top of one another. So this time what's going to be a little bit different than the last exercise is we're going to get that lower leg incorporated into some of this motion as well. So that said, pretty much the same thing that we did the first time. We're inhaling as we take that leg, that top leg, up to the ceiling. This time we're going to draw that bottom leg up to meet it. And then from there, we're going to release both back down to the ground. So when we do this, we're incorporating a lot of that inner thigh muscle of that bottom leg to draw it up and touch it to the top leg. So the exercise that we have is we're going to inhale that top leg up just a little bit higher than our hip distance. So again, we're not dropping out to the back and really raising that guy up. We're keeping that hip in that same position. We're taking it up as high as we can feel that stability, as high as we feel like we're not rolling back or rolling forward to get any extra advantage from there. We're taking it up as high as that hip will allow. From there, we draw the bottom leg to come meet it. And then we relax everything down at the same time. So again, we're taking that top leg up, and then we're drawing that bottom leg up as well to meet it. We're taking them both down at the same time. So our breathing here is we're going to inhale that top leg up, we're going to inhale that bottom leg up, and then we exhale to drop everything back down. So I'm going to go ahead and go through this exercise. I'm going to do my breathing pattern with it. So I'm not going to talk. Please feel free to follow along with me during these exercises. Setup is still the same. Spine in that parallel line with the floor. Hips stacked on top of one another the whole time. We can have our top arm hand on the ground, giving us a little bit more stability for when we come into these motions. I think we're going to find that we need it just a little bit till we start getting those abductor hip muscles to start firing and functioning a little bit better. We may need a little bit more stability through this exercise. So it's perfectly fine to have the hand on the ground. Having this forearm on the ground as well is really good for stabilizing our body as we go into this motion. So that said, going to do this exercise with just breathing and no talking. So that was our exercise. The things that I wanted you to notice is that I kept my spine in that straight line. I kept my hips stacked the whole time. I wasn't trying to get extra height by rolling back or doing anything funky like that. The other thing is that as I came up, I wasn't really trying to work with my ankles to touch those toes. So it's that same thing as we want to keep that stability through the ankles. So we want to keep that stability through the joints of our legs. The more that we do, the more work it becomes on our hips. So those are the things that I wanted you to notice with that. please feel free to do this exercise on both sides. We need to do it on both sides. But what I'm going to do is show us our next exercise, and I'm going to go to the other side so that I keep myself even and that we keep this video runtime down to a minimum. So, coming onto my other side, we're going to go into our next exercise. So the next exercise that I have for us is we're going to be working on the same things. So the abductor of that top leg and the inner thigh adductor of that bottom leg. This time, that's a little bit different than the last one, is we're going to do both legs at the same time. So again, still focusing on that line of the spine parallel, keeping it parallel with the floor, hips stacked on top of one another, shoulders stacked on top of one another, giving ourselves a little bit of stability through this exercise because we're going to need it, especially once we take that bottom leg off the ground again. Our starting position, both toes are pointed, our knees are nice and engaged, and all this motion should be coming from our hips. So that said, as we inhale, we're drawing both legs up to the ceiling, and then exhale, releasing them both down to the ground. So we're inhaling up and exhaling to release down. So the thing that I want you to notice is that I'm not allowing my ribs to drop and dumping into the ground. I'm trying to keep this guy as stable as possible. If the movement from my legs doesn't allow that, then we're not going to be able to go up as high as what we think that we probably should. So that's why we stay in this nice, easy realm of motion here. Not trying to do too much, but we're also still feeling an engagement from the portions of our body which we're looking for, which is our inner thighs and the outer thigh of that upper leg. That said, I'm going to go into this exercise with just breathing, no talking, so please feel free to follow along. And yes, I would like you to do this on both sides. So once you're done with the first side, go to the opposite side and close it off that way. So that said, here we go with our exercise. So the thing that I hope you observed from us going through that exercise together was that I didn't allow my spine to dump. So I wasn't looking to get extra height by dropping my rib cage down. I kept my rib cage high, kept that engagement through my core stabilizers, and through that, I worked the motion from nothing but my hips. The other thing that you should have noticed was that as I was coming up, my feet are sort of sliding on each other. So it's kind of a friction type rub. I'm not going to have the ability to keep my ankle bones together the whole time that I'm doing that exercise because that's not really the way that our bodies work, especially if we keep that engagement through our knees and our ankles. As we start raising, one leg's got to go a little bit higher. And so what we're feeling is that we're actually kind of sliding on each other. So as we go up, the legs are sliding. As we come down, they find that positioning back in that starting position. So that's another thing that we should feel within our bodies when we're doing this exercise. I appreciate you being here for this other video. This is really, really good stuff for taking our body and especially our hips through motions that we don't generally take them through. So this is really, really important work to be doing in our house. Thank you again for being with me here for these videos. If you like what you see, there's a little thumbs up button below this video. Please click that thing. And if you're not a subscriber yet, please subscribe. When you subscribe, you get access to all of my videos. And every time I post something new, you'll be getting a notification for that. So you can follow along the day that these things are posted. I'll talk to you later.